1, let's go. Feet. That's the first word.
Oh,
It was feet. I said it. You can't go back now. Can't turn back time.
feet is like an easy first word to have, right?
What?
As a baby, it doesn't seem like that hard of a word to say.
No, it's not a hard word to say, but why would that...
Wait, why is like baby's first word?
You've clearly never had kids, have you?
No, that is true. I have not. I'll ask James in like probably only a couple months now.
Jeez.
While he's
Louise.
starting a family, we hit 500 subscribers.
We've
on
got
YouTube.
a way bigger family than him. We've got...
Suck an egg, James. Thank you all for 500 subscribers. This is not the 500 subscriber special. We do not know what that will be.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You know what? You know what makes me feel bad? I literally forgot that it happened.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't really planning on bringing it up in the video anyway, because that sort of dates it. Not that these videos aren't dated. Also, not that we're going to do this all again, but this video series, I think, is going to have a pretty weird, like, life beyond the first round. We're not going to do this again, but this is the whole plan is that this will be updated, and there'll be, like, further entries in the video series, but they won't be, like, for example... It'll probably be just one, but we'll do one like after we've like tested all the weapons post season 4 balance changes, something like that. And we're also going to review things later on based on what other people say. So it's going to have a weird life. It's going to sort of start like this, just this block of the 4 classes, and then it's going to be like weird entries, like every maybe 1.5 every year or something. It's going to be weird, but it's not going to completely disappear.
It's gonna be like one every season, really. Right.
Yeah, even then, this is sort of the halfway mark for the precursive block of videos of this series. And I would wager, and obviously you can very quickly confirm or deny this is probably your least used set of weapons.
Well, I think it's also the least interesting. Is how I will counter that.
I think it's not far off engineered primaries. I think they're fairly comparable, actually.
Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I think I made up for it, right? As much as I won't have much to say about the coil gun, I think I'll have a lot to say about the Burt.
Good.
Because I do love the Burt.
I don't want to say anything about the Burt. Well, I do. I got things to say, but this isn't supposed to necessarily be about saying a lot, but we can if we want to. It's usually easy when we agree, though, isn't it, Tyler?
No.
All right, this is clearly not going to go very well.
We are not on the same page at all.
No, I wonder if we're on the same page about the bull snog. Sorry, the Bulldog heavy revolver, I should say.
Yeah. I guess we're gonna just we won't discuss how it's gonna be rated now. That's in past videos.
Definitely not in part 2. Definitely not in the second part. Yeah. We might want to refresh ourselves next time though. But yeah, the Bulldog heavy revolver, and we go through every mod at a time. Usually pairing them together though. Obviously I'll go through like both and then tier 1, quick fire ejector, minus 0.7 reload time, and perfect weight balance, which is times 0.3 base spread. And I don't think much of this tier.
Yeah, it's for tier 1, it's pretty basic.
Yeah, reload speed is probably less used, only because the Bulldog is more traditionally a precision weapon. Even on something like elephant rounds, although elephant rounds does reduce base spread, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so even then you might actually choose quickfire ejector. So both are useful for different things. Quickfire ejector is very obvious for magic bullets as well. But overall, it's almost not important enough. Like, yeah, maybe the Axie one gets more use, but they're not the worst things to put in the same tier, and they're probably pretty equal.
What's the word? I had it in my head. Inconsequential.
Inconsequential.
Yeah. That's the one. Like, it doesn't
what is that
really matter. I think it is a hammering that's going out side miles away.
I feel like if you had noise suppression on, Tyler, then that wouldn't.
I do have noise suppression on.
So apparently that counts as
right?
voice, but you weren't actually talking, at least for a little bit, when that was going on.
What, you could still hear it?
Yeah.
Heaven-defying noise making from the fuckers outside. Alright, the window's closed. I might die now, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Is it? Is it though? Is it though?
It's a mild.
I'm willing to sacrifice you, but are you?
Yeah, but that's not saying much. Moving on, I think it's a 3-3, right?
Yeah. If we don't have much to say, then let's not say much. You know.
Yeah.
Tier 2. I don't know how much we have to say, but this will still be a bit weird. So we've got plus 10 direct damage. We've got this floating barrel, which is minus 80% spread per shot and time 0.75 recoil, or plus 12 max ammo. The Bulldog really is one of those weapons where ammo beats out pretty much everything else, unfortunately. Especially this tier, because the damage mods were actually nerfed a while ago. They had some of the damage moved to the base weapon, which actually makes them even less useful. You know, it's not just that they were made worse; it's that damage was moved to the base weapon, which means you needed them even less, which means ammo became way more valuable.
Clearly, they thought that they were too strong before, but you would disagree, I guess.
No, they definitely weren't. Because considering they can't have been, I don't really remember, but considering how weak they are now, but it's still increased damage. And if you want to max out your damage, you can. This is definitely worse than the other one. They're the same, but this one's worse only because it has this competing with it, which is still doesn't really beat out ammo. So I'm gonna have to give ammo a 4. I think it's a lot. And, you know, the total damage is so much more. I know, obviously, the Bulldog is a precision weapon, but that's the thing. 10 damage isn't that much, really. When you're starting with 60. It's not a massive amount, that's really that valuable. You can still one-shot certain things, or most things that you could already one-shot. It's not changing anything. So, the damage gets an automatic 2, at best. I think the ammo is probably going to get a 4. And that means floating barrel is sort of an awkward spot because personally I wouldn't ever use it. But it seems like no, it can't be bad though. That's the thing. It's definitely not bad, but it's just like the ammo, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes the ammo a 4 and this a 3. In fact, if this ammo mod was this one probably needs to be nerfed a little bit. In fact, but yeah, this is a bit difficult because actually it's not like I've really used this floating barrel mod either. So I'm most comfortable just saying 2, 3, and 4 and not really thinking too much of it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems fair. I don't know. I think the floating barrel mod, from what I can recall, you definitely notice it when you do pick it. It makes the Bulldog very nice to use. But see, it doesn't actually make it better.
Yeah, that's why it's not getting a bad rating. You know, it can't, but it's like it's still being outperformed by ammo pretty much all the time. Tier 3. Wow. Look at this. It's interesting, isn't it? We've got plus 3 penetrations. We got explosive rounds. We can actually see the exact stats, which is plus 30 area damage in a 1.5 meter radius, but half direct damage. Or hollow point bullets, which is plus 35% weak point bonus. Now, this is one of those ones where explosive rounds doesn't have like a huge number of builds it's used on, but it is the most valid thing for those builds, you know. Explosive rounds doesn't really get like a lot of use across number of builds, but there's certain builds where it's the thing you have to use with it. So it's got a lot going for it in that sense.
It's definitely balanced.
Yeah, it's actually quite balanced. And then, but hollow point bullets is sort of the automatic thing to go to if you're not doing that, though. So in this case, blow through seems to be a worse option. I don't hear people talk about it. I don't see people use it, and I don't know why you would.
I think it's because if you want AoE, you are using the other one, right? It's AoE option. You're using the explodey one and doing like magic bullets or whatever, ricochet. Those are the builds, right? And if you want to do direct damage, you choose the weak point one. Like there isn't really the blow through is literally just a middle ground between the two, and it's like don't really need to want the middle ground off.
No, this is a case where the middle ground doesn't make sense. It is still +3 though, so
good, but
yeah, but is it good? As in, is this yeah,
it's a 2. It's like
that's a 2.
It's not. It's like there's not much you can do to it that would make it win out over the other 2, right? Unless it fights for something else. Like, it's not going to win in AOE. It's not going to win in direct damage. So it shouldn't try either, really.
So that's. I mean, and then I guess. So would you say these are equal? Because obviously I talked about how the number of builds they get used in is very different. Explosive round still has cases where it's essential. It's really just one though, but you could. There are other ones like explosive rounds. It's magic bullets, but you could use 6-shooter because that's increased ammo, also lots of rate of fire, or chain hit. Like if you were to use chain hit, you should probably be using even these two actually, even that. But even then, it sounds weird, but yeah, 2-3-3 still seems fair, but it sounds a bit weird, only because of how explosive rounds doesn't get as much use, but. It's weird that it equals out, or at least that it feels like it does. I think it does. Tier 4. This is the exact same ammo and damage mods from Tier 2, except it's just those two side by side. Which I think results in the same ratings for those two specifically, in the ammo being a 4 and the damage being a 2. Unfortunately.
If you were to pick both damages, would that do anything?
Really, really not a good idea. Hold on, I want to make sure. Okay, total damage is visible. So if we were to add both ammo mods, you look at the total damage. Then you bring it down. It comes down again by a lot. It comes down again. Yeah, not a good idea. That's why they both have to be a 2. There's some cases where taking one of those damage mods is an okay idea, but most of the time, you don't want to take one of them, and you never want both. You really don't ever want both. So they both get a 2 in my books. And yeah, the ammo, it's like, does that mean the ammo is automatically a 4, or is it just a 3? I don't quite know. Maybe this tier is a little bit different because it doesn't have something else to be better than. In tier 2, the ammo is still a better idea than floating barrel, but in this case, it's like the only choice. But does that make it balanced, or does that make it like too good? I don't know. Well,
you think it's like there isn't a really point in time where you wouldn't pick that ammo there, right? Or maybe you might pick the damage in that one sometimes for some reason. I don't know. I think 4-2 makes sense because do you think it's a 5?
Oh no, the ammo. No. I was thinking of a 4 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it's balanced then? Do you think if they just made the damage better, it would be equal? Do you think they would need to nerf the ammo?
I wouldn't. Well, I don't like it, and they nerf things, so no. I'd rather they brought the damage up, obviously.
So a 3 then, 3 and a 2.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling for this one. I think it makes sense for it to be slightly different from tier 2. Tier 5. Tier 5. Oh dear. Deadeye. No aim penalty while moving. Or that.
Free damage.
A shit ton of free damage. That is so. Okay. In my opinion, this is a 5. And to be honest, I haven't heard enough people talk about Deadeye to actually excuse it not being a 5. And Deadeye being a 2?
I think Deadeye is probably a 1. But I'm not sure that Neurotoxin's inherently a 5.
There's no build where it doesn't make it better.
Yeah, but I think it's just because Deadeye is so terrible. Like, if there was another option there, I think it wouldn't be a go-to pick, right? But it's just that the competitors are so terrible. Like, by this competitor, singular, is that it's like either you get damage or you don't. Like, and so people are like, oh, damage.
Yeah, a lot of free damage. And in the case of some builds, a lot of free damage. that upgrade really makes certain things.
Yeah, but do you think it's to the point where it needs nerfed? It needs to be taken down a peg? 'Cause I just think it
Kind
needs
of.
more competitors.
Yeah, well, that's what I prefer. But that's not always like realistic. That could just be us being idealistic, that we would rather that it had like equal competitors and denying that it might be too strong. Not that this isn't too weak, by the way.
It's definitely one, right? I mean,
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I think so. Not that it isn't something, but it also isn't anything at the same time. You know, especially in comparison. It's just a bit weird. It's just a bit obscure and doesn't do anything either. It doesn't. But yeah, then I get to 1. That's fine. Neurotoxin coating probably then. Oh, it's so good though. It's so good.
yeah, but is it like? I guess it is kind of like I don't know. It just I feel like we might be overusing 5s because I don't think it's unhealthy. I think it's just good, very good.
Okay, I think I agree with you in the sense that, especially if you have a 1 and a 4 next to each other, is definitely not healthy either. But I think it shows which one needs attention more, and it's the weaker one in this case.
Yeah. I think if that one was better, and maybe there was another mod there that competed it against, like I don't know, the just a damage essentially, like something that helped bolster the damage in a different way, and then like the movement one being better, like maybe you shoot faster while moving or something, so it increases your rate of fire and your accuracy, maybe something like that. And then I think it wouldn't be inherently OP, right? I think it would then be used in AOE builds, and that might be just about it. Or if you just like neurotoxin, I think it just comes down to no competition rather than it being undeniably OP.
You know what they should bring back, either as an overclock or to replace that upgrade. I think it was called Last But Not Least, and it was a cut overclock where the final shot in the clip did like double damage, which was pretty cool. And that'd be a really sick upgrade because of the different overclocks that have like, you've got 6 shooter that's got a much bigger magazine size, so it takes longer to get to it. So you might not want to use it with that. But then you've got elephant rounds, which only has 3 magazine and has a lot more direct damage. That upgrade would be a lot of fun to play with. And considering it did exist at a point, although not in the game like live, but it was going to be a thing at one point.
Yeah, but that upgrade would essentially it would take over the damage role, because currently the neurotoxin is playing damage and AOE damage, and just generally, why wouldn't you pick this over the other option, right? But if it were to have an actual damage one competing against it, I don't think it would be a go-to pick. I just think it's just that its competition is non-existent or terrible.
Yeah, so that's just an idea for replacement. And I do want to see that cut idea come back in some way as well. It's pretty cool. Either way, so that's a 1 and a 4. Sorry?
Think about how broken it would be on Elephant Round.
Yeah, I know. Still want it though.
Yeah.
Oh, volatile bullets. Didn't even think about that. It's only because Elephant Round's got like a smaller magazine size. Anyway, right, yeah, overclocks. Chain hit. This is one of those cleans that could get lower than a 3. Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Only because it's sort of suboptimal, especially compared to what the revolver is for. And also the other thing in its in its category as well.
I think you definitely, penetrating rounds, chain hit, neurotoxin is just a worse AoE build. It still works, but it is just worse than the other one.
It's worse than that, and it's also not, and because also on top of that, it's in general not what you want to do with the Bulldog on average, and magic bullets is what pushes it towards that being a good idea. Chain hit doesn't make that good idea.
Plus, I think the Bulldog is a very overclock dependent gun, and I think chain hit isn't enough of an overclock for it to depend on.
Yeah, it's also its only clean.
Yeah, I think that reinforces that point that it needs more than cleans.
So you think that's a fair 2?
Yeah,
cleans probably can't get 1s, but we'll see. I don't think so though. I don't remember if we've done any. I don't think so. Homebrew powder, who did used to be a clean, but got changed to a balanced, and thus became one of the better, probably the best homebrew powder in the game. Your shot has its damage randomized from 0.75 from 75% to 200%, basically. Average to times 1.375 damage per shot. So it is realistically free damage, with the downside that you can low roll and actually not one-shot a web splitter. That's the downside. But it's still pretty good. Like, this is a really solid overclock. It's almost my personal favorite. I know it's definitely not
Of the revolver or
yeah, of the revolver. Only because I know there's definitely stronger ones, but it might be my personal favorite. I just think it's kind of neat. It's an easy 3 for me. I don't think it goes above that, and definitely doesn't, but it definitely doesn't go below. Yeah, glad we can agree on something. Volatile bullets, though, I don't know if we would agree or not. But only because I don't know what my rating is going into this. Because volatile bullets is so weird, and in my opinion, it itself is not. It doesn't deserve the same rating as Burning Hell. You know what I mean?
Which
it's probably lower.
Yeah,
that is a very good question, Tyler. It's a very good question.
it's clearly like
Gave Burning Hell a 4, so actually it's possible.
Yeah, but like I don't know, because the issue is if you were to isolate it on its own, it's like terrible, right?
Yeah.
It can't do anything. You're just losing damage. It's stupid. It's bad. But then you actually zoom out a slight bit, and you realize how incredibly easy it is for Gunner to set things on fire. Right? 2 of his primaries have very capable ways of igniting things, and he has a grenade. Like, he doesn't even need to make his primary do fire. He can just grab a grenade, and that such easy access to fire means that volatile bullets is essentially guaranteed. You are essentially guaranteed to always, when you want to, deal that damage.
Yeah, but obviously you do have to use something else to achieve that damage. Unlike in the case of either of the other 2 damage increase from overclocks, you know. So yeah, that's not criticism. That's actually the way it should be. You know, that's what volatile bullets is. And I don't know if it's balanced or not, because I feel like that build is even then that build doesn't feel overpowered all the time. It's just a really good idea. That specific build.
It's just such immaculate like synergy, like of, like a character's equipment, that it just feels so good, and it feels like you always kind of like, even though it's really obvious, it feels like you invented it, right?
And that's why this is not going to get a 5. I just want to put it out there, because that would suggest that this is a problem. I think volatile bullets is it's really cool that this exists. It's probably the most direct pairing in the game, and that synergy is a really cool thing that I don't think should be lost. So I don't want to put slap the unhealthy label on it.
Yeah, I think its strength is too much, but I think it's still healthy because it just feels good.
Yeah, the thing is, you are right, but I do think it would feel too weak if it was weaker, because you have to use something else to activate it. Even if it's easy to do, you still have to use something else. You have to use up something else. You know, these 2, you don't need to use any other bit of your kit. You don't need to use one of your grenades or use ammo from your primary.
But I think it's worth mentioning how very easy it is to if you're using the minigun, you're not using up much to set things.
No, especially Burning Hell, but that's Burning Hell specifically. So little effort.
Yeah. I mean, the Hurricane's slightly harder, but I think with mine layer it isn't that hard, is it? Like, didn't that boost it a lot?
No, the Hurricane's arguably easier on average though, because if you take that mod, you're always inflicting heat. Whereas in the same mod, hot bullets for the minigun, you have to ramp up to a certain heat level. You know.
Yeah, or they have to be within a certain range for the other 2 heat. And then if you refuse to use those 2 ones, the fact that you have a grenade, which I would say is good anyway, let alone you could then throw it onto a detonator and then it would set them on fire. So you don't even need a fire primary. I think, honestly, I still think it's a 4, but I want to make a point verbally now that because of how easy fire is, it's kind of essentially a 5. I think if the game toned down how often Gunner gets fire, it would be more reasonable. but it's just such an easy, constant thing to be doing with Gunner. The volatile bullets isn't really a drawback or like difficult to achieve. It's essentially given to you as long as you're not using the Thunderhead. And even if you're using the Thunderhead, you can use a grenade. Like it is so difficult to not, be dealing fire if you didn't plan to. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
I
you
think it's
because I don't, not sure, so I'm just gonna give it a 4. That
I think
seems
it's
to
a
make the most
four.
sense.
It's just I don't know. I think its problems lie elsewhere in how easy it is to do because they kept giving fire to him. Fucking thunder, hurricane.
Yeah, I mean, I have like a really like deep personal wish that it had been obviously that the thunder the hurricane had gotten radiation or at the very least something else, and then volatile bullets would have actually been changed to possibly be weaker but actually work against all three, as in fire, neurotoxin, and whatever the hurricane got. You know, that was like a
Yeah.
personal wish of mine. Um, that would never happen though. Six shooter. Thank God Tom isn't here. Thank God Tom is.
Could be. That's a couple of lines.
No, don't invite him just because we're on six shooter though.
Yeah.
Because six shooter. So this is an increased magazine size and max ammo and rate of fire. But you also have the penalties of less accuracy and a longer reload time. And honestly, you think that's actually like +8 max ammo overall with an increased rate of fire, but it definitely doesn't feel like a massive upgrade.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one. Personally, pretty low down for me in terms of like how much I like it. Because its usefulness doesn't really come across. I definitely get it though. It feels pretty kind of nice to use, especially when you just lay into it. But then they nerfed it. It's like it's not as it should be as quick as you can pull the trigger. There's no point holding it back in that way. Obviously, it's still a lot quicker than normal though. So, but yeah, I would just give it a 3. I would just. I don't know what you think though.
Well, do you think it's balanced?
Yeah.
All right. Then yeah. I mean, I have no strong opinions on it. That normally means it's a 3 or a 2.
Yeah, 6 shooter is fine. It's just if you want, damage and no, it's just if you want ammo and fire rate over damage. In fact, I think homebrew powered 6 shooter are probably quite equal. So
I think 6 shooter, it's a bit like Fat Boy in its gimmick. Like it is literally, if you want to have a 6 shooter, pick this essentially, right? Like
yeah,
instead of doing one giant shot, you pull out the fucking big iron.
oh, big iron on his hip. Elephant rounds ×2 direct damage, half base spread. Nerf everything else. Plus 3.5 mass. What is that? That's the elephants. That is. Honestly, I have no fucking idea. Because elephant rounds is probably going to be. I feel like elephant rounds is something that people would be quite divided on. Some people are like, oh god, it's just too like much. No, absolutely not. No, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I am thinking 3 or 4 because. I feel like there was a time when I thought elephant rounds were just kind of shit. It was just too many drawbacks, but it's definitely not. It definitely works, and it feels pretty damn good to use when you hit.
The issue with elephant rounds is it's competing against volatile bullets.
But sometimes they're not competing though. In fact, in most builds, I'd say they're not competing. The elephant rounds has the edge because it doesn't rely on anything else. On a higher number of builds.
Yeah and no. I think that was the case, but as mentioned, with how easy it is to deal fire, you basically, I mean, all right.
Yeah, even taking that into account, I think I'm right.
It is a given in a big fucker elimination mission, right? Like you're not going to be able to set them on fire, so you pick elephant round. Pretty obvious choice. But I don't know. I think it's quite strong, but maybe so strong that it's balanced. Because
Well, I mean, if you take elephant rounds and we added
I
ammo,
don't think it's free damage, is it really?
it's It's no, that's the thing. It's definitely not free damage, whereas homebrew powder is, but it does total up to more damage overall. Yeah,
but that damage can only ever be done to a very like restricted amount of enemies in a very constricted amount
the
of time.
ammo's not actually that bad. You get 39 shots at best, but that's not bad at all, really. It's not if you take both damage mods, you got 15 shots, and like less than half the damage that you would have, or not less than half, but almost half. I don't know then, because what would your rating be?
I think it's just kind of balanced. I think it's very strong, but it's also
it's like it feels so extreme. It feels like it shouldn't be like a 3, but I think it is actually a 3. Yeah. It's just not. Let's just not get blinded by how.
You get tons of damage, but you pay the price.
Yeah.
It's balanced in that regard. It's a good unstable overclock.
It is actually a very good unstable. Speaking of, well, so Magic Bullets kind of rides the line of whether or not it is a good unstable or not, because obviously to actually make it good, it relies on a couple other things coming together, but it's really not that hard, and everyone knows now as well. So Magic Bullets, you hit terrain, and the bullets ricochet to nearby enemies within 5 meters, and that's, I assume, is the bit that throws anyone off, including myself when I first saw Magic Bullets. It's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. I guess you can hit enemies around corners, but you're worse again. Your damage is worse. Until you realise Magic Bullets was made for explosive rounds. And this is a really difficult scenario because Magic Bullets almost just goes against the ratings, in a way. I don't know if you agree. It's like, because it's in a lot of ways it's really not balanced because of how like specific it is and how on average unusable it is. But the build for it does exist and it is really good. But it's so restricted.
Not balanced. Like, I feel like it's like you compare it to some other games where you find a really niche combination that works immaculately. Like, it's cool, is it not? Like,
oh yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like really sick how you like just kind of randomly, or like not randomly, but like you kind of like, wait a minute, if I do this, this, and this, wouldn't it be really strong? And then Magic Bullets is one of those where it is then, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have the epiphany of the free area damage combined with the neurotoxin actually being applied. It's like Shirakazing AoE on the revolver.
Yeah, and it's like that's absolutely fair because if you look at another surface level weak overclock, like plasma bursting missiles, there's no build for that. There just isn't. It's always weak. But Magic Bullets has a build, and it can be very good. So you think that makes it balanced?
Yeah,
I think I agree. I think that works on principle. Actually, it's it's a bit different to the other. It is different in that sense, but
it feels different from like it's so weak that it only has one build that makes it good. It just feels like it's a very niche thing which you have to use it exactly right to benefit from it, like how they intended to. It feels more like that. Which, whether or not that's the case, that might just be like bias, like over time. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with Magic Bullets. I don't think it should be buffed or nerfed or changed in any way. I think you'd agree with me there, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and I think everyone else agrees. Like, no one's like this thing's too shit or this thing's too strong. It's just a very good addition. So yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3. Anyway, back to Deadeye. I had another idea. If it was like consecutive damage bonuses per shot, but like for hitting the same enemy, like if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As long as you hit the same enemy, it does more damage on each shot, and then it's like there's competition there. 6-shooter would actually be quite good, but both would be very good. Then there's like actually room to play around.
Something else there, which I think would be really interesting, is if it consecutively increases the damage for every enemy you move on to during those 6 shots. I think that would be something a bit better, because I feel like single target, volatile bullet, enemy on fire will always win, right? Like you can't really compete with that.
Better idea.
But
Focus shots. Better idea. Focus shot. I'm opening this up though because Deadeye is probably the most unhealthy part of the Bulldog. Apart from that, it's still not right. And it used to be better in the sense that the damage mods were better. I think they need to be addressed as well. But overall, it's pretty good, and it has a really healthy overclock selection as well. I think.
I mean,
That's
two
one.
unstables that you both consider balanced is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. As long as you got 4 like balanced things in your overclock selection, you're doing all right.
Yeah,
So,
well, as mentioned, the revolver is just an overclock gun. Right? It is a gun dictated by its overclocks. Like it's heavily carried by it and relies on it heavily.
yeah, I agree in that. I agree, especially because my like upgrade selection doesn't really change that much. But, like it definitely doesn't. For example, between elephant rounds, homebrew powder, and 6-shooter, it wouldn't change. You know, magic bullets it would change from weak point to explosive rounds. Volatile bullets, I would take one of the damage mods. That's all that changes. It's actually pretty static in that sense, which sounds a bit weird, but it's still not bad.
Well, I think as mentioned, I mean, you probably noticed it just by watching or anything, but the mods are generally kind of ass. They're not that interesting. They're not that good. They're not really anything in particular, right? Everything comes from the overclocks.
Yeah, except neurotoxin.
Yeah, I guess tier 3 and neurotoxin is.
They're interesting. They are. Tier 3 is an interesting tier. By the way, that is the Bulldog. Well, I'll show you guys the table. That's not the table. There's something else. Look at that! Wow! Holy shit! Look at those numbers. Isn't that interesting? Anyway, next on the chopping block is the bird. All right, Tyler, take over.
But
no, I didn't mean that. Also,
yeah, I know, but I
whoa! Why have you got so many upgrades, Bert? Why have you got?
Bert is such a rad guy.
Tier 1.
Yeah.
Domage. Sorry, damage, +3 direct damage, floating barrel, again, pretty much the same thing, like, reduce spread, and reduce spread. Wait, what?
Spread per shot. So as the spread gets bigger, it doesn't get as bigger.
Yeah.
But it starts not as big.
Yeah. Blow through round, +1 penetration. What a weird tier. Honestly, probably more balanced than it looks, though. I reckon.
Yeah, I mean...
The damage increase isn't huge. I actually use the accuracy sometimes, especially with... I just use it sometimes. It's even worth using with lead... Yeah, even lead spray, where you would want to double down damage. It's definitely worth using this one. And then blow through rounds is probably just decent in general.
Plus electrified minelets, which... Minelets inherently means you kind of want to pierce, right? Like if you're not piercing, you're doing like half of your
No,
damage.
I agree with that. It's just it's Electro Minelets.
No, I agree.
So we got 3-3, right? 3-3. Do you agree?
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with penetration inherently. It might not be the strongest thing in the world.
But considering that floating barrel is worth using over damage sometimes, surely penetration is as well. That's what I'm getting. Even though I don't use it that much, or really at all.
I think there is nothing wrong with it, but it's not exactly got a build. Like, if Minelets was better, it would get picked more, right? I think there would be nothing wrong with it. But
yeah, I'm just saying, in a tier where damage isn't essential, I feel like Pierce must be worth using as well.
No, I think it's 3, but low 3. Like it could easily arguably be a 2. But only because Minelets sucks ass, which we'll get to.
Yeah, which is the thing that it's like best for.
Have a good build for it.
Probably the other thing it's best for is using like with micro flechettes to like stun crowds or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's AOE. It's clearly AOE, right?
But then that's also micro flechettes.
Yeah, it struggles because of the overclocks it would want to be good with aren't.
Right, tier 2, the tier of utility. Got recoil, half recoil, Minus 0.7 second reload time, plus 2 rate of fire, which translates to less time between bursts. It was pretty good, honestly. It's not even that I don't care. I just think these are all fine.
You notice the effects of all of them.
Yeah.
If you have picked any of them, you will notice you either the recoil's close to non-existent, or your reload's real quick and nice, or that you're shooting real quick. And so all of the effects do everything you'd want them to. It's personal preference, I think. You could run any of them on any of the builds, and I don't think you'd be better or worse off, really.
Yeah. Yeah, straight up. With, I mean, right? Like if you compact mags, for example, compact mags. I love compact mags, and it reduces both rate of fire and reload time, which makes both equally valuable. But it's really good.
Double down, or you could spec the other one.
It's also good to turn into like a mini little laser beam. I sometimes go all accuracy, and it still works. It still feels good.
Yeah, no,
because it's that good of an upgrade.
It's easily a 333, right?
Hell yeah! This is weird. This is weird so far.
The book going better than you thought it would.
If I'd looked at it beforehand, I would have realised that these tiers are all pretty equal. Tier 3 though, we got plus 12 magazine size and plus 3 direct damage. Might be a bit of an imbalance here. I don't know if just adding another half of adding like a 50% increase in magazine size beats out the damage. It doesn't in terms of total damage, but in terms of gun feel and actual how useful it is. This one's where damage is up superior, right?
Interestingly, probably it might be a 3-4
compared to tier 1. Damage is up above it in this case.
Yeah, but interestingly, I think if you're going for a max damage build, the clip size isn't a bad shout, right? If you're using lead spray, I mean, since I'm a bit of a dumbass, I just used more damage. But to be honest, having to if you just got behind the hive guard, let's say, right, and you're about to release your full lead load, and you get 1-2 shots in, and then you have to reload, right? You did less damage, because you. If you had that damage mod, you still would have done less damage.
Look at magazine damage. It shows you magazine damage. I've got lead spray on.
Does it go up?
Yeah. Magazine damage goes up, obviously, but total damage goes down slightly.
If you care about burst damage, technically that's kind of a shout. Which is why I don't think it's a 2. I do not think even for a second.
No, I agree. I was thinking 3 and 4 anyway.
I think it is interesting though in how if you want to do damage is inherently the best shout. But I think otherwise, if you're just using them against plebs, there's no reason not to take the damage mod. Especially if you're running the reload. The reload's not bad. The base max size isn't bad unless you pick a mod where it becomes 2 bursts. It is fine. It's good.
Yeah.
3-4. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tier 4. Armor breaking. Ammo. Weak point bonus. Fucking hell, armor breaking. I'm sorry, it's not winning in this scenario. This is one of those. It does work, but it's still not winning, unfortunately. Because for the Burt, that's not what you do, really, is it? I don't think. The ammo is always going to be more useful, I reckon.
Yeah, it's one or the other, really.
And it's a really good weak point bonus, too.
You're either dealing shit tons of damage to one poor sod, or you're just shooting into a horde with obscene amount of ammo, right? That's essentially the only things you really do with a Burt. And yeah, armor breaking never really helps.
Would you consider these two equal, though? It's a good ammo increase, and I'd probably use it a little bit more, but this is still very good. It's also higher than average weak point bonus, but the Burt also doesn't have an inherent weak point bonus like the Bulldog does.
Yeah, I think they're both. Yeah, they're both basic. I'd pick them equally for either purpose. Well, right, I would only ever pick the weak point bonus for a single target damage build. But I think the ammo has general build and single target damage. It can claim that role as well. So I think the ammo might be slightly preferable, but I don't think it's a 4 and then the other one's a 3. I just think...
Okay, because, that's the thing. The thing about that is, because I agree with you in the sense that I do think the ammo is better as well. So I don't know if that elevates it or not.
Generally, it's going to be a better pick. It can be basically, it will always help you in no matter what when, right? But I feel like you feel the value of the weak point, right? At the very least, the weak point is not going to be it's going to be a 3, right? Weak point
But
is
even in those builds where you benefit a lot from the weak point damage,
you could still pick.
It's still probably equally good. I'm personally feeling 2, 4, 3.
Yeah,
it's a really solid ammo. It's also the only one. It's the only ammo upgrade as well, and it's quite a lot. So I'm personally feeling 2, 4, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's right.
That is perfect, I think. Okay. No, not 35. Tier 5. Tier 5. Probably equal. Burst stun. Stun the enemy for 4 seconds if all 3 shots hit in a burst hit, which is actually higher than average. The average is usually 3 seconds, so it's already got that going for it. Oh, it got a longer burst. Plus 3 bullets per burst. I think the stun is better.
It's once again, it's the things I mentioned earlier. Tier 5 is probably the tier mod where you would really decide. Stun if you're shooting into a horde. Number of bursts if you're shooting a single target. Because 6 bullets will often be slightly overkill for grunts, I think. Maybe not.
Maybe definitely if you hit them in the face.
Yeah.
Because you can one shot with a normal burst.
6, I feel like, you would either be doing too much, like you would only need like 5 bullets, or you were doing too little and you would need like 7, so you're going to have to waste like another ton. But against a single target, doing 6 shots at a time, as mentioned for like the Hive Guard, you need to do as much damage as you possibly can in that single instance. Saving the time it would take to shoot 2-3 bursts and just do a 6-1 and go, that is good.
But smaller bursts are more accurate, and being able to stun, you can stun lock Praetorians. You actually can. It's kind of nuts. You also can just stun every average enemy that you want to focus on. It's particularly good against Magterra, I would say, because obviously they move around a lot, and you want to interrupt their attacks as well.
But then, other than Praetorians, stun isn't exactly something you'd want to pick for a bigger guy, right? Because they're often immune. So I think it is literally, if you want to shoot hordes, stun. Which it dips into Praetorians, and if you want to destroy anything around Praetorian or bigger size, you pick for 6. And I think it's not bad at the either thing either way, right? It never stops you from doing either side. It's just preferable to.
Well, I would say it's a 3 and 3 at least. But I'm personally feeling that the stun is better.
It's not.
It's not.
It might make some terrible things that the gun has usable, but I don't think it's better. I pick 6 way more often than the stun.
And I pick stun way more. Okay, maybe that's the best way to look at it then. Maybe we are the duality. Alright, I'll go with that.
It depends on what we use the Burt for more often, right? I think you prefer using the Burt more generally, and I prefer just destroying bigger guys. Wait, that sounds really bad.
Whoa! 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 Anyway, look at this greedy bastard hogging all the overclock. Why this? Why the Burt? Exactly, it's got 7 in its name. It's got 2 of the worst Actually, hold on. I'm not going to say the worst.
The thing is, we know why the Burt's got so many overclocks, because it's the same thing 3 times and electrify, Violet.
Literally, it's got the lead storm thing going on. Even one of them's got lead in the name. But anyway, we'll start with composite casings. All right, moving on. No, it's a 3. This is a decent one. It's increased rate of fire and max ammo, right? It means you can justify taking up. It's already good tier, but you can justify taking other things even more. Or you can double down on rate of fire, which feels really good. Then you can also justify anything in this tier. This is a really good clean, actually.
It's just if you want the default Burt experience, essentially, like you're not being pushed into anything, and that's normally what cleans do sometimes.
It's like the default Burt. It's better than default Burt, but it's not changing either. It's not changing. I like it. Feels really good, but it's probably just a 3 still.
It makes the gun feel good. It doesn't inherently make it that.
Well, it does give you more damage and DPS. No, more total damage and more DPS.
Yeah, but not by as much as some other things.
Yeah, but it's still free. It's still free. Like, that's pretty
and
good. There's no
actually-
point. I think it's a free, right? I don't. You know. Yeah.
It's not
Unlike this
four, is it?
fucking idiot, full chamber seal. What a loser! Get out of here. Fuck
I think
off.
that's the one that I don't have.
Yeah.
I do have it, but that's the one that I don't use.
This is the one that's not. It's the one that's not worth using. That when you look at the Burt, right? Okay, it's already starting out 21 damage per bullet, which is actually quite a lot, and means that by default that's 63 damage per shot. The other damage mods add +3. If it did that, it would be fine. It should be that. It should be at least one of the basic damage mods, but it's not. It's way below it, and it's way below the balance damage overclock, which is +9. And then the reload time is not much either. This is one of those cleans. Yeah, it's still a clean, but it's actually like, considering cleans are at least meant to match like the weapon upgrades, like the weakest version of a weapon upgrade. It should at least be that, and that's why it gets a 2. That's right.
Ooh.
This is one of those cleans that gets a 2. Yeah,
Though,
I've heard this opinion before that it's the worst, like it's one of the worst, or the least like valuable overclock on the Burt. It's just no point using it.
Would you say it's one of the worst cleans in the game?
It's down there in terms of cleans. Although, considering what's coming up, I'm not sure. Considering what's.
Oh, I guess. Yeah.
2, Tyler. Not 1, is it? It's just not worth using, and I think that's the way to give a clean overclock a 2.
Yes.
Is when it's not. It's just not worth using. I think this is definitely worth using in probably quite a lot of scenarios, but this just never really is. But not absolutely. Put my foot down. Never. You're not an idiot for using it. Mainly because it's a clean. That's why it gets a 2. Can't really get a 1. We'll see. I'm not sure. Obviously, if you don't know what we're talking about, you'll know soon. Compact mags, +84 max ammo, -1 rate of fire, +0.4 reload time. This is one of the 4s, I think. I think we talked about this before, where the Burt's got like 2 overclocks that just rise above the rest. Do you remember?
Because it kind of has to, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you probably noticed it. We've alluded to it. We've talked about it quite a few times. But literally, 3 of them are ammo, 3 of them are damage, and then they got like the minelets. And that means whichever one is the better at the ammo or the damage will reign over the other one.
Yeah.
Like, inherently invalidate the other one.
And compact mags is the best ammo one.
Is a take. Yeah. I think if you want your gun to be doing damage while having ammo, you pick this.
Yeah, it's a lot of ammo, and like the downsides are worth it for all the ammo. And it means you can very reasonably not take ammo and also take ammo. You have a lot of ammo if you do that, but you should also probably do this. It's also a very good idea. It's actually equally good in this case.
I mean, that's probably the most universal Burt. Like that's I mentioned, like you shoot into hordes, you shoot big guys. That build is probably the middle, where you would pick that ammo mod. And then
you got tons of damage to spray with longer burst if you want, or you can just use it as like a precise pick off, like high value targets thing. It's great. It's a fantastic overclock. I'm giving it a 4. I'm giving it a 4. So it's just whether or not you agree. If you're going to give it a 1 or something, then maybe I'll move it down to a 3. But
No, yeah, I have no real strong opinions because it's not exactly what I like using the Burt for. But I can't deny that it's the best ammo, and therefore it will be at least up there. Yeah, 4.
All right. I think it's not a 4. Experimental rounds. That's 9 direct damage, but cost of magazine size and ammo, which is felt quite badly. Experimental rounds is really weird to me. I can't actually tell if it's good or not, to be honest.
Experimental rounds is like normal. So it is like you sacrifice damage for ammo, right? Or like, right. The opposite of that.
You sacrifice ammo for damage, but the problem is, right? The problem is when you compare it with like not sacrificing damage for ammo or not sacrificing ammo for damage, it comes across as kind of weak.
Plus, wasn't one of them? It's like ammo and ammo mag capacity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier, the smaller your mag capacity, the less burst damage you can actually really achieve when you need it. Which, considering you're trying to go for damage, that's I don't know. I don't know what its purpose
I'd
is,
say,
because it's not
yeah,
something you're going to be
honestly,
using against the big guy, because you
yeah.
won't be able to do much, and it's not something you'll be using against a horde because you won't have enough ammo. I don't know where you're supposed to use it.
I think it's beaten out by composite casings almost. If you just want something that's just like essentially like the normal Burt, but you have like a lot of ammo to play around with and the full magazine size.
The
I don't know.
argument for it slightly, and I don't think it's a good argument, which is why I mentioning it just in case, is that it's the long range damage mod, or overclock rather, right? Like if you want the Burt to be not unreasonable at longer range and deal damage, this is what you use. But I would argue that there's no real benefit there.
No. Yeah.
So
I'm still a little bit unsure, so what would you know what rating you would give it?
two. Like it's not
2.
a throw pick.
Yeah, absolutely
it's
2.
It's not
Yeah.
particularly underpowered. I think you could definitely do with like a buff and or tinkering. But
I think maybe it definitely doesn't need the magazine size decrease. You know? Definitely not.
yeah, no. Or that's the only thing it decreases. Either or.
Oh,
Maybe it's like
maybe you could go even further, but remove the ammo penalty.
yeah, not much further, can you? Like I think it doesn't it like only you can get it to what does it put your mag size down to if you like don't pick the mod? Isn't it like 12?
Hold on. This one. 18.
18.
Yeah. And then it would go up to 30.
I don't know what I've done then, because one of my bursts, I can only actually use 2 bursts before I need to.
Electro Minelets goes down to 12.
Oh, right.
Fucking Electro
That'll
Minelets.
do it. That's not the bad one. What is? But yeah, that adds up.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 bursts is not preferable.
Speaking of which,
yeah.
Speaking of the witch, I don't know if I'm not even sure if I can be heard at the moment.
Just so we're clear, the other one's 2, right?
Yes, it's a 2.
Yeah, Electro Minelets is a hard one. Like a very, very hard one.
I'm like, God, I wish I could like say bad things. I wish I could.
It's just undeniably horrific in all regards.
Oh,
it is never in
fuck
any
me.
time been good at anything.
If you defend Electric, hold on. Okay, carry on. Hold on. I'll let you say it, please.
Because as mentioned earlier, 3 damage, 3 ammo, right? And I think they may have spotted that and they're like, okay, we need a funky one, and they went Electric Minelets, which essentially means the Burt doesn't have a funky one. It is terrible at being interesting. He thinks
he's burning hell. He thinks he's burning hell.
Yeah, because Electric Minelets sucks so bad, the Burt looks worse because it's only got the simple like stuff.
And I know they wanted to avoid this, but this would be actually no. Even then, it wouldn't be good. Sorry. They did buff it. They did buff it. That's not the problem, though. It's not that it's too weak. It's that it's electricity.
Yeah.
Also, if you defend Electro Minelets, you've never used the coil gun. Just straight up, you haven't used the coil gun, and you're stupid. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? Because you're giving a status effect to. You're giving a status effect that doesn't. It's just a flat like application to a burst weapon.
Yeah.
You dumbass! Are you stupid? It doesn't work. This is where we should have got. We should have got. We should have got fire miners or something of this. Because even the crime miners would have been better. Obviously.
Fire.
Honestly, but what I would love to see, and what it should have been, was like, I don't know, cryo reload or something. That would have been pretty fucking sweet. But you know, we got Electro Minelets. Just an absolute abhorrent piece of shit. You know, it's not. It wouldn't be like. Honestly, it would actually be kind of good on a weapon that's single shot, because the fact that you can electrocute multiple enemies with one shot is actually pretty good. But it's the fact that you're forced to fire 3 shots at a time that you don't do any better because of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like it just does. It's so backwards. That's it's just so.
I think the good thing about Electro Minelets is that they buffed it and it's still terrible. So we could genuinely be looking at like a rework and or.
I want a full rework. I mean, I do want it to be replaced. I want the Burt to have an interesting overclock.
Sure, but I would argue that it shouldn't be like. I don't think the Burt should have like an element. I think it should be
Oh,
one of
maybe
the
not.
few guns in the game that is just bullets.
Well,
Few bullets.
Well, if you want
No, I think
to, hold on, I want to bring up out of the old casket of unused content again. I can't remember what it was called, but basically it had a cut overclock where, and I don't know if it was replaced with this. Probably not. They're quite different. But basically, upon reload, like as in, like basically bullets would embed themselves in enemies. They would like be basically still there, and when you reload, they would like go and hit another target. They would like literally fly out of the enemy into another enemy.
oh, that's pretty
Yeah, and I feel like that would reduce damage quite a bit. But it's like, you essentially get double the ammo, and the second like
double
and second
burst.
yeah, and the second one is sort of like automatic. Like it literally seeks enemies out as well. So I feel like there's a way. I guess the problem with that was that it kind of just circled around to either being like
essentially like-
broken or not changing anything. Because I thought,
Essentially, like,
to balance it, you'd have like half the damage, wouldn't you, or half the ammo, so it wouldn't really change anything, or it would just be overpowered. But that was still pretty cool. And maybe like
that's
some kind of
thing as well. It wasn't an element. It's just bullets.
yeah, it did have an
that's
explosive
an
one at one
interesting
point
one.
as well. I think explosive reload, but it was actually area damage. Like
I don't know. Either way, Minelets hasn't worked, cannot work, and I think they know that. I think they tried balancing it, it didn't work. I think if they actually keep an eye on it, I think it's probably one of the most likely things to be removed, reworked, or generally.
I guess the only problem with that, it doesn't really get talked about enough.
Yeah, but whenever it does, we get about our reaction of piece of shit, like get out of it.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's disgusting, and I don't know. It's why the Burt isn't looked up really, along with other reasons, but it's one of them.
Yeah, I don't think maybe this is one of the reasons, but honestly, it's not good. It's not going to get a high rating, but I will still defend microflechettes. I will still
Right.
defend
Well,
it.
first of all,
I will
we
defend
never
it
said it.
not being worthless.
I was thinking we never actually gave it a rating, but I realized I started with saying it's a hard one repeatedly.
When did you say that?
remember that. At the beginning of not the microfetchers, the try and reload. I forgot we actually gave it a rating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah. There was a point in time where I considered them the same, but that's not fair.
Microflechettes, shit tons of ammo magazine size, no recoil basically, or like no spread even, and just like you just do a lot less damage per shot. But this is almost the weird one, actually, isn't it?
It's because, right, I think an interesting an epiphany occurs when you look at the Bulldog's ammo one, right, where it removes the ability to do stun. And like,
Whoa,
that's a
hold on.
purposeful-
What? The Warthog. The Warthog.
The micro shells, right, or something like that.
Mini shells, yeah.
Yeah, that removes the ability to do stun. In all fairness, the shotgun has natural stun. It's not a mod. I mean,
So it can't actually, microflechettes can't actually remove the stun in that case.
exactly,
You know,
they really can't.
it probably would have
and that
done if
is-
the Burt did have stun.
but that is hella exploitable because there's a reason why they removed the stun ability on that, like giving them more ammo. Because more ammo plus fire rate essentially means stun locking, and that is what microflechets is essentially for. That's like basically about it. Holding a shit ton of enemies in place.
Yeah.
Or one poor sod.
Yeah, the reason why it's not a good ammo overclock, well, the reason why it's not good as an ammo overclock, right, is because if you look at the total damage, let's actually just take all damage and take the ammo mod as well. And then we switch to lead spray. Microflechettes, 7,000 damage total, but you've got like almost over 400 bullets. Lead spray, you've got around 200 bullets. And over like almost 2,000 more ammo. Compact mags, you've got less than 300 bullets, or about 300 bullets, and you also have more total damage. That's why microflechettes is a bad ammo overclock, right? It's still worth using sometimes, though. It's still worth.
I just want to quickly point out because I just noticed it now. But isn't it kind of wild how the Burt you can pick all the damage and ammo overclocks, mods rather. Like you can pick them all at the same time because it's not often you don't have them on.
Well,
the
it depends
same
on what
kit.
you consider hollow point bullets to be.
I don't, for the sake of this. But
Yeah,
also
I agree.
because it's flat ammo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's slightly interesting. It's not often that they don't overlap.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a 2 still, right? We can't.
yeah, I think so.
Let's
I
not
think so.
pretend. It's not. Yeah, it's not great. If you make it do like I don't know, it's max damage or some bollocks, like it becomes somewhat usable with stun, obviously still. But yeah, I don't know. It's not good, but it's not as bad as my the other one, electrifying Minet.
Yeah.
So it's a 2.
It's far from the best unstable overclock. Not that I like him very much, because I don't.
Yeah,
Lead spray.
you don't like Late Spray. Me, on the other hand, probably the main reason why I do like the butt, to be honest with you.
Well, this is why we do the things that we do. You do lead spray, and longer burst. I'm a more compact mags burst stun guy.
Yeah. And the enemies thank us on different times because honestly, when it comes to like a horde of motherfuckers, there's not much I can do. Well, if I whip out the Burt, they never stood a chance. And at no point in time were they ever not going to get 1 shot, or I guess 6 shot. But you get the point. Like it obliterates
One pull of the
even
trigger.
guards, in like a single tap, and it doesn't reduce ammo, so you're not actually that screwed. Like I realize now, like you're not really a waste. So it's not that bad. But yeah, I like keeping it for the big guys, and the big guys they don't stand a chance. They're like none of them do. Has 5 4-player Hive Guard or whatever. I think Hive Guard actually has the most health technically, doesn't he? Or she or whatever. They get the fucking lead spray in their ass. They don't stand a chance. They're gone.
No, dead. Yeah, they're done. They're done. So done. Goof. Dead on the floor.
Generally,
extinct.
With the gunners not minigun, but the primaries. I don't often see myself needing a secondary like ever really. Like you just kind of hold down right trigger and a normal horde will die. The only issue is that normally I run not a sustained primary. Like I'll be using salvo modules, so it's a less than fair.
Yeah.
But if I actually just use like an ammo or damage over time, like sustained primary, then I think that would be a very, 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 very strong comp.
Sorry, I just noticed something cool that Coil does. It's got the burst speed, which is 0.05, and I think that's the time between each bullet in the burst. So it's 1 bullet every 0.05 seconds once you press the trigger.
Right.
Pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, lead spray. Here's why lead sprays are for. Because it's a shit ton of free damage. It's especially a shit ton of free damage per trigger pull. And if you're not going to use it, which you don't have to, this defaults to the best choice anyway. It's not, like obviously composite casings is definitely okay, and microsheets is sometimes worth using. But in general, the reason why these two are both 4s is because if you don't want to use one, then the other is the best choice. That's why.
And if you don't want to use one or the other, then you shouldn't be using the Burt, or you don't.
Not really, yeah. Almost. That's almost a fair thing to say. So I know that you would give it a 4, right? Absolutely.
Easily, yeah.
And so, and I will as well on principle. In fact, I would basically say that we should get to choose our ratings for that and that separately without like impeding on the other person. But we would both pick 4 anyway, seemingly for both of them. So
we both can't deny the other one's strengths and like how it towers over the other options essentially. Because it's just that lead spray there's no real negatives as well. That's like slightly not slightly. You are locked in at close range, but that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal in this game.
not particularly. Yeah.
It's like definitely going to be long range.
I mean, I do like being able to hit flying enemies, though, Tyler.
Yeah, that's what your fucking primaries for, mate, and it will probably do it better than your secondary ever would.
Not when I'm using mine layer system. Not when I'm using.
And don't do those.
Because that's usually what I pair it with the compact mags, not lead spray.
Yeah.
Compact mags is a very nice accompanying piece to mine layer system. Anyway, the Burt surprisingly healthy. In fact, quite healthy from like an upgrade perspective. Doesn't really need any changes. I would say move hardened rounds to tier 3. That might work actually. But yeah, overclocks are weird though. Overclocks is weird because, like we established, it's got 3 of the same thing twice, which means that it will have 2, like 1 in each of those categories that objectively rises above the others. So I think there is a bit of an issue there, but it's almost a bit too deep to really root out. And the best thing to do is actually to address Electro Minelets more than anything, because that is, you know, even though there's an imbalance of there being, you know, 3 of the same thing twice and therefore 1 rises above the others in that category, Electro Minelets is still the weakest thing overall, and it's separate from them.
That, you know, it would have been like, there's 7 mods, 6 of them, you know, essentially the same thing twice. So 2 of them would have rose up from that, but then like the other one would have rose up as well. So then there would have been like 3 different builds.
Exactly,
right?
Electro Minelets should be a pillar as well, but it's not.
Yeah, no, it's not, and
it
I
falls
think that's
down completely.
Yeah, one of the main issues in that, because Electro Minelets fails, there's only really 2 builds for the Burt. Although obviously some of the other things are good, they're not really the pinnacle, which Minelets could have been. Although I don't think Minelets would have ever been it. I do not really like Minelets as a idea, but obviously whatever the funky other / elemental one would have been, should have been a pinnacle like Lead Spray or the ammo one.
Well, the thing is, like, I agree, but like straight up explosive Minelets, like Minelet system, would work quite well with the Burt, because that's because, you know, that's good for bursts. That's because it's just more damage.
And
anyway,
AoE as well. It would have been a good part of AoE.
Yeah, it deserves better than Electro Minelets, certainly. Basically, what I'm saying is the Burt is actually like I said, the upgrades are very healthy, and the overclocks are a bit less so. But honestly, Electro Minelets is the only thing that really needs to be addressed, which is actually makes it a pretty good look, in my opinion. So good, big up the Burt, big up. Well done, sir. Right. Next. Next.
Yeah.
What? What are you talking about, eh?
Coil guy.
Basically,
show the final table.
Yeah, of course I did. Of course I did. Look at that total damage, bro. Look at that total. I don't know why.
Wow.
I don't know why it takes that into. I don't know what it's taken into consideration there. I don't know if that's from the trail or if that's from like an average number of enemies you can hit or something. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to. Jesus Christ! It's such a weird fucking weapon. Seriously, like it's really arguably simpler in practice than, like, you know, the wave cooker or crossbow, but I think it's weirder, to be honest. It's just more of an obscure piece of the game to me than the wave cooker or the bolt shark. But yeah, it is the coil gun. All right, I'll do my best because I know I'm on my own here. Because I know tier 1, we've got extra damage, we've got extra ammo, quite a lot of ammo, and we got plus 150% charge speed. Okay.
Charge speed actually compete?
No. No, it doesn't. And ammo barely competes either. 2, 4, 2. 2 because on charge speed, because you can use it with overcharge to actually achieve a bit more damage. But you could still take extra damage. So I'm putting in 2, 4, 2. I wonder if Tyler's got anything to say on it.
I'm pretty sure it's a 5, 5, 5.
All right, let's go with that. Yeah. All right, cool. No, 2, 4, 2. That ammo is absolutely the best choice. Not that you can't use the others. It's just for me, because the coil gun boils down to some very specific ways of using it, and ammo is always the better option in those scenarios. Tier 2 though. Tier 2. What a fun little tier. Got Overcharger. Fucking hell. That's a lot of text. Basically, Overcharger adds more damage the further you charge it over charging. And then controlled magnetic flow means you can actually fire before charging it fully, which is the better one. But for weird reasons. And then we also have reduced reload time, which is useful, but only for Hellfire. So basically, this actually might be the most equal tier, though. That's the thing. They all have their uses. The only reason I think Controlled Magnetic Flow is the best one is because that's for the ways that I use the coil gun. But people use them different ways. Like Overcharger, people use the mull and like it, and that's what Overcharge is for. That's more direct damage. So I'm gonna go make this easy and say 3-3-3, or maybe 3-3-2. Because that's really only for one overclock, and even then, you could still use Overcharger with Hellfire if you wanted to. Although that increases reload time as well. All right, it's going to be all threes, actually.
That pulled itself back.
Yeah, that was quick, wasn't it? That was quick. Fucking hell. Oh, dear. This was a bit... Honestly, the Hurricane wasn't too different from this. As in just me sort of almost just barreling through it. Although we elaborated a bit more. Tier 3.
Well,
what?
No, I could talk more about the Hurricane than I can the core gun. Hey, I genuinely have used this gun like 5 times, and I did not like it any of those times.
Tier 3. Concussive Shockwave adds a 50% chance to stun enemies within 100 meters. Or Tyler, I want you to read these. I'll read them to you. 50% chance to stun enemies with 1.5 meters of the shot trajectory for 3 seconds.
Okay.
Applies 250% base fear chance to enemies within 5 meters of the shot trajectory. Which one do you think's better?
I mean, the numbers are better on the fear. But I don't know. I think holding them in the trajectory is better, right?
No.
No?
No.
No? Isn't that not what you want to do with Hellfire?
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Look at all these stats, bro.
Do you not want them to sit in it for longer?
Yeah, kind of. But no. Concussive Shockwave is just for Hellfire, as far as I'm concerned. This is better for everything else, even the best AoE build on it, to be honest. But also it helps with any single target stuff because you can just fire off a shot and scare everything away anyway. So, but it still works. Unfortunately, it's a 50% chance, whereas this isn't, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to give him a 3 and a 4 though, because I definitely get stun in this case. What?
Did not sound like you were going to go for a 3 there at all.
No, I agree.
It's a 50% chance that's only usable on 1 overclock. It did not sound like a 3 to me.
Oh no, I just feel like I'm going to get shit for it, but that's not what this is about. 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Because honestly, this one, it will help if we get people's opinions. Because, yeah, just straight up. So, feel free. Because this is quite one-sided. As in, this is really just all my ratings. So, and that's usually the case with the other ones. It's a combination. Tier 4, we got Defense Enhancement and Shockwave. Defense Enhancement does have that bug where you can give it to yourself permanently. It's also just kind of good anyway. Shockwave is generally my go-to, but both are good. 3 and 3. Straight up. I don't know if you have a preference here, because I assume you might have taken note of this tier in some capacity.
I like the thought of the damage resistance ones because of the damage resistance build you can theoretically make. So I have made, yet to notice if I have used. I don't think it's actually that.
Well, that's the thing is, I have a similar thing with Shockwave where I use it a lot more, but I don't really notice it either.
Yeah.
But I still personally think it's better objectively, but also I don't notice it either. And I notice Defense Enhancement. That's why I'm giving them both 3s. And I thought that's probably... The community will probably go straight for Defense Enhancement, but they're not here, are they?
They are not actually. They'll be here later.
Yeah. Later. Not right now. And that's what matters. Right here, right now. Tier 5, Necrothermal Catalyst. What the fuck? This should be, like, overpowered as hell. And it is technically, but it's not, because it's so excessive that it never ends up getting used. It's because it's excessive in the context of any of the builds where it would be applicable, aka you're using a fire-based build on the Hurricane or the minigun, in which case everything's already dying anyway. So Necromorph Catalyst is powerful, but it's just not very useful, unfortunately. And I'm just going to give it a straight up 2. I really wish it was useful though. In my opinion, it should be straight up. I'm going to propose a rework straight, like right here. I've done this before, like, in text form, or maybe a couple Reddit posts. I'm not sure, but change it to Neurothermal Catalyst. Have it apply that effect to neurotoxin enemies as well, and also have it deal bonus damage to enemies affected by those effects.
All right, I'll get on that.
All right, cool. So next 2, dilated injector system. Plus 0.5 meter trail radius. It isn't useless, but unfortunately it is. Which is why it gets a 2. It could get a 1, but it's not getting a 1. I don't know why. It's getting a 2. The reason why it's useless, basically, is because, yeah, electric trail doesn't increase the size of the trail, but it does slow enemies down while they're in it and does more damage to them. So you get a 2. You get a fucking hell. You get a 5, mate. You get a 5. Electric Trail gets a 5. Tyler, trust me on this one, because it was almost instinctual, but now I'm thinking about it. This is absolutely a 5.
It's the only one that I actually, like, the one.
Hold on. Actually, it's not 5. It could be a 5. Unfortunately, Hellfire exists, where it's equally valid to take either of them.
Yeah, but would you put both as 5s?
No!
No, you wouldn't put Hellfire as 5.
No!
Oh!
Absolutely not, sir. How dare you? I would never put Hellfire in such a stupid position. Yeah, Electro Trail. I'm thinking about this. It's pretty much the best choice on everything. Hellfire, not always. I might play it safe, actually. Give it a 4.
I would.
What, you got a better take?
4.
There we go. He said it, so gotta go with it. 2, 2, 4. Because Electric Trail is better for the crowd clearing builds, but it's also just better for single target anyway, because neither of the other two help in that regard, and at least it adds a bit more damage. So yeah, woo, ultramagnetic coils. 4. If say so the ultramagnetic coils plus electric trail plus control magnetic flow plus larger battery, that's like a 5 build. That's quite specific. But ultramagnetic coils, it's a bit like the magic bullet situation, except like way better. But we gave magic bullets a 3. But this is a similar situation, so it can't really get 5, but it's better enough than magic bullets to get 4. Because this is genuinely so good, it's stupid. It's really almost disgusting, actually. I love it, and I love the fact I discovered it, and no one else fucking talks about this build. And I've used it so much, and I think it's so good that I actually can't use it. So, yeah, that sounds pretty intense, but still giving it 4.
Alright.
Yeah, because honestly, it's the weaker stuff on the coil gun that I think should be better. Obviously, like Reatomizer.
That's the one, right? That was the one you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, this is the clean one, and I think it will be the only one of those. Goddamn, is Reatomizer shit. It's kind of interesting. You can still do the thing of giving enemies the Steve buffs, the buffs, by the way, not turning them, just giving them Steve's buffs. Which means you can give an elite detonator 300% more health. So yeah, good luck with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to fire, ice, or warden's buff. Mainly the fire and ice is the main problem. Like, what effects can this really affect? Basically, Reatomizer is a meme, and that's the only reason it gets. That's the only reason it gets used, and that's why it's getting a 1. No one is using this except for the meme. So, fuck Reatomizer. Fix it, replace it, give it to my my nan. She likes it, I think. That feeding module, a bit weird, but it's too much ammo to not at least give her free. Basically, that's where that ends, I reckon. Yeah, not bad for sort of just picking things off builds, and you could use it for a really excessive but much more clunky version of the ultramagnetic coils electric trail thing. You probably shouldn't though, but you could. The context of the coil gun though, it's really okay. It's like, it's a bit weird though. It's like it sort of falls behind a little bit because it's one of those like straight up just lots of ammo mods, but it doesn't really allow the coil gun to do better in any of its directions. Can't really push it very far. I think it's still free, but quite a low free, really. The mole. We probably have actually fairly equal experience with the mole, Tyler.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. I get it though. I think the mole we're gonna have to give a 3. I don't respect the mole. For a lot of people, I think it would actually be a lot higher than a 3 though. As in the people who use it. I don't use it though. It's dumb. And not very good. But it can be used, and it does work. Unlike Reatomizer.
The mole, like, you know, coil gun single target damage attempt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it used to increase the amount of damage for every enemy it passed through, which is a good idea, by the way. As in, that was a bug, and they removed it. That was a good idea, though. So bring that back, and maybe it will actually be usable. See, this sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? Maybe I do think it's bad. Oh God.
Oh. Right. It probably isn't, but the fact that it's so inaccessible isn't exactly a good thing.
You're right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Okay.
Like, if we were to talk about, you know, the ball probably didn't give as much damage as this, but the volatile bullets on the Bulldog, right? It's a very high reward for, let's be honest, a very low gate of entry. The mole is maybe a very high reward, even if it is the gate to entry to access that is maybe too strong.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not that impressed. And honestly, having to fire through just one layer of terrain is often hard enough. And it's not actually that rewarding. And you're never gonna get 2, really, unless you're like unless you set up terrain. Or you've already planned it beforehand. Yeah, I think the mole gets a 2. Sounds a bit weird with backfeeding module getting 3. But backfeeding module gets a 3. And mole gets a 2. Unlike Hellfire, which I wish Hellfire could get 3 because it's just really just straight up just good, but it is really good, and it's sort of it's very accessible and very powerful, unlike the rest of the coil gun. That's the thing. It's very easy to understand, and it's very good at what it does. So it's kind of just the optimal pick for most people using the coil gun. Really. So I think it just gets an automatic 4. The reason why it doesn't get a 5 or anything like that is because I think there's some builds that are almost better than it. It's just that it's just so accessible and easy to understand. It's really good. It's just good, and that accessibility rates it above the rest of the coil gun specifically. So Hellfire gets the 4. It's also pretty cool. Pretty satisfying. I'm not unlike actually. Triple tech chambers is pretty cool actually.
My favorite thing on the Coil gun.
That's fair. That's a fair opinion. It's not insane though. I think my ultramagnetic coils build beats it out by a lot, and Hellfire is once again more accessible than it. But triple tech chamber is still good. It's got that sort of burst damage thing going on for a single target, which I think is kind of the intention. But obviously, the metaphor is to use it with controlled magnetic flow to set up lots of electric trails through crowd clearing. But I think it's not the most accessible thing in the world either. But it's good enough for despite that. I would personally give it a 3.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt overpowered. It's not the easiest thing in the world to actually use. Yeah. Balance.
Easy stuff. All right, watch this. This is funny. So if I take that and that, hold on, does this work? No. Okay, ignore that then. Look at that though, 140,000 total damage. 140,000. Isn't that funny? Isn't that cool? Isn't that sick? So yeah, the Coil. Fucking hell, stop fucking around, bro. Anyway, yeah, Coil gun. Probably less healthy than it looks. Actually, I would say this isn't that bad. It's a bit sporadic actually. There's a lot of 2s. Quite a few 2s, and we've also got a very obvious 1. So it maybe needs to be looked at, but it's so weird that I kind of like it the way it is. I definitely want people to definitely want some opinions on this one though. It's the most important one to get opinions on. I didn't really have much to say, and the Coil gun, as much as I like it, it still confuses me. So, we're gonna need some help here. And that's up to you, all 500 of you. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Post.
What?
Yeah, the Sam poster, the American Sam
Oh,
poster.
American Sam.
Yeah.
Uncle Sam, yeah. We need you
To tell us about the Coil gun.
Yeah.
Because we don't quite get it.
Exactly. Even though I probably use it, I definitely use it more than the other 2. Do I? No, I like it. I think Ghost Ship like it as well for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, they've got that 3D printed one, and yeah, someone's got
Maybe
that. That was sent to them. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you hold the trigger and the coil spin as well, which was pretty fucking sick. That's giving. I think that's giving it extra points. Actually, I think we should raise everything by 1 because of that.
There's a knock at the door. I'll be back. Oh, it's Mitchell. I could wait.
It doesn't really matter. The video is basically over. He's gone. Anyway, yeah, that was this. I just don't know exactly what these are called. Like as a series, I couldn't tell you what this is called. Tables, the series. Obviously,
Trademark.
Tables trademark. Anyway, we've got to do something for 500 subscribers. We don't know what it's going to be yet, so help us out with that. Please, for the love of God, help.
Beg of you.
I beg of you. I need your help. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to enjoy this. Tyler, any final words? Any last words? Alright, cool, bye. No, seriously though.
Arc.
You what?
Word arc.
Right.
It's a nice word.
You know what else is a nice word?
What?
Bin.